explanation. A couple videos back, I posted one on memory and how to access it. And I went back and I listened to it again, and there's some things that are not clear that I think are necessary to explain and expose, to bring more to the account in which you build through memory access. Okay? And this account accumulates wishes, ideas, dreams, things that have connected you to something else. The only value that can exist in memory is the value in which you have connected it to something else and built a relationship. So that way, if that connection is ever severed, there is something that is called a miss, or you miss something. You wish something to return but cannot find it, and it saddens you and it brings you pain. And I hope this makes memory more clear on what it is. How it is not a destination. It is a relationship. And I know that I've made a lot of videos, so you don't have to go back and listen to all these videos, but I built the foundations for these ideas. And what has brought this to my attention is somebody who I hold very, very dear on this channel has made a comment about misunderstanding. And this is why I think explanation is important to explore. Okay? To simplify things, because they have become very complex. And these are the things a teacher looks for to come back to a balanced position. Because if your friends and people you admire, your mentors, who are on the channel, on this journey with you, who have the slightest concept of misunderstanding of where we are or what we are doing here, then it is the responsibility to justify and simplify and build a statement of what it is that we are doing here. And is it worth your time to be on this journey? Because we don't want to waste anybody's time on anything that we're doing. So I'm hoping that you are finding value in these ideas and these concepts. I'm hoping that your spiritual account is growing, where we are explicitly pointing out specific details that you can build an evidentiary foundation behind it. And so now you can build your spiritual structure because it has a foundation built in clarity. You have interpreted the words and the actions of your life in correction. Therefore, you can stand strong. No wind can blow you over when you are sure, when you are clear in your understanding. You have interpreted everything and described things with reason and with simplicity. That's, in my opinion, that is where explanation has its most important power, is in simplicity. Justification actually comes from a personal perspective, so you can't necessarily use that as a means of evidence, but you can use justification as a means of compassion, because you can build empathy and sympathy around that. But simplification is actually, like I think science calls it, Occam's razor. And Occam's is going to be an important aspect too. We'll get into that later, because another comment that I'd like to talk about, and we're not going to necessarily do that here, is mad cow disease. And we'll discuss that another time. However, personally, I want to share with you a story, why people contact me. Most of the time, they're corporations. I mostly do work in the corporate field. The reason why is because when you become very powerful in your trade or your industry, your art, that's what it becomes on these high levels. It is actually an art. It's a craft. And unless you have your own business and you have an employer mentality instead of an employee mentality, things change in you, and it makes you realize that you are responsible not only for yourself but for your people who rely on you as well, your employees, right? So it changes the dynamic in your own structuring. And this makes what your house looks like. What does your house look like? This is your culture, your vision, your mission statement comes out of this. So people contact me generally for one of four reasons. Okay? They want to do it for commerce. Okay? Again, that's the corporate side. They want to increase their empire, build their company. Do you not see presidents and czars and rich people have psychics around them? Do you not witness this in reality? Do they not have astrologers and things who they rely on? I mean, is this really too far-fetched, guys, to consider that there's a whole other world that you do not see because they do not talk about it on TV? Or if they do it in a way with pointy hats and swinging of wands from the midsection to distract you. So nobody knows what to believe anymore. So they contact me for commerce so they can stay ahead of their competition. Unconventional means in order to maintain and grow power for your empire is necessary for some. Not for everybody. Depends on what you do. And that brings me to number 2 of why people contact me, is for war. So you hear me talk a lot about that on this channel, because what we are actually doing here is converting the momentum of war. And we are gathering that destruction and the debris in which forms from the wielding of chaos. That destruction we accumulate after, and then we take that and we offer it a home and a place in a new reality called Renaissance. Now, Renaissance is a much bigger box than war, because Renaissance means a lot of things. Mostly it means intensity. Intensity in compassion. So, we have spent a great deal of time in the human experience over the past, who knows how many years, focused on the mind, focused on evidence, focused in science. And I would say that we have done a pretty darn good job. I enjoy the technologies that we have around us. I hope that you do too, if used wisely. Right? And because we advanced so much with technology, perhaps it is time, or if I may make the humble suggestion, that we try to incorporate now our gut. And we actually start understanding our emotions. What emotions are, how deep do they go? What are feelings? And through the exploration of our gut, our intuition, our future sense, we will build a connection between our mind and our gut. And there is one thing between that is far superior, which is your heart. When you connect through memory, your mind and your gut, you build a connection to your heart, and now you move with empathy and sympathy with your right hand and your left hand, your magnetic and your electric. And through that process, we have now created a mechanism for life to form in the way we want it, in the way we feel and think it should look like. So that's the explanation. Because the third reason why people contact me is mercy. And this is the rarest one of all. But the ones who want mercy, those are the ones that I spend a great deal of time with. Because those are rare. The other reason I'll just bring up is anonymity. Some people do this for selfish reasons. And it's hard to judge at times, even though I want to. It's hard to judge why they're doing these practices for selfish reasons, other than to say that in the end, it does seem to work out. Some are refugees. They need to hide because they're being hunted for some reason. Some want to be the hunter. So I think it falls on the responsibility of the practitioner, or in my case, I would call the teacher, to do so with care and kindness, and to make sure that an explanation does happen once in a while to remind everybody that we are simply just offering an alternative to the weapon of war. We want to use the destruction from that and build our future in the way we want, because there's a lot of excess energy from destruction. Do not things look beautiful after war? Well, why don't we build that something beautiful when that is happening around us? We can take it in the moment instead. And through that process, war will cease, because it will not be able to witness its own fruits of its labor. It won't be able to see the destruction it wrought in the world. And through that, it won't have a way to value its purpose, its action. I hope that makes sense. Because we're immediately going to take it and to say, well, thank you. Thank you for that. Now we're going to take and make something nice with this and do something with this. We don't need that in our lives. Thank you. But we will be more than happy to eat, chomp on, and consume all the stuff that war leaves behind. All of the weapons will turn into tools. All of the explosions will turn into fuel. All of the death will turn into life. Because we will do this with memory. And we will do this with time. And we will do this with love.